Welcome to Inside the Force. I'm Greg Grunberg, a.k.a. Snap Wexley.
It is a period of Star Wars mania, as new movies, comic books, novels, and TV shows populate the system. Fueled by their love and passion for the galaxy far, far away, two exceptional geeks tap into hundreds of holocrons in order to bring you the knowledge and insight of all things Star Wars. Come and join them as they go inside the Force.
Hey everybody, welcome back Inside the Force. Dave Cottingham here with Casey Cooley.
Hello everybody.
Welcome back to an jam-packed episode.
Yeah.
As always, great things to talk about on this episode. We've got everything from the latest news to the latest episode of Rebels to some just released information on some Blu-ray stuff to what was it?
Some video game stuff.
Video game stuff, absolutely. And of course, this episode is going to contain the very first novel review from both of us, since we both have gotten through a book and we've gotten through it. And no, it's not an older book. It's one that came out last week.
Hey.
Star Wars Ahsoka. We will be talking about that in depth here, probably towards the end of this show, because it will be spoiler filled. So, I mean, not too much, but there's a couple things in there we definitely want to talk about. So, all right, so let's get right into it, Case.
Okay. Well, so episode 8 on that front, not much really going on, I think, of note. There's some rumors going around about the runtime of the film. It's nothing like 2 hours and 15 or so minutes, whatever. Yeah, like 70 some, or not 70, like 120.
Which is about average.
120, yeah, so it's no shock, guys. It's going to be average. Oh, it'd be great if it's like a 2.5 hour long movie, but whatever. Could be.
I think episode 3 was close to 2.5.
Yeah.
I think.
But episode 2 felt the longest. Feels
very
the
true.
Longest. So episode 8, that's coming, but nothing really new going on with that. Rogue One, but trailer is still coming off the high of that trailer from last week. This past week, we got some new character posters from all the main guys, except for Darth Vader, of course. But all the main rebels and Krennic and Saw Gerrera. I believe there's 8. There's 8 character posters. Pretty cool. It just features a nice close-up of the character's face with schematics superimposed on their face, which I guess are the Death Star plans. I don't even know if that's been confirmed yet, but I'm assuming those are the Death Star plans. Pretty neat. Pretty awesome. Also with Rogue One, well, I guess not. Well, we'll save some book news for later for Catalyst. But Rogue One, yeah, it's happening. That's awesome. Kind of going back a little bit with some Episode 7 stuff. The Blu-ray is coming out November 15th. And they've been releasing some clips that will be on the special features, such as one deleted scene, and a couple of clips featuring commentary from Abrams, because this will have, thankfully, finally, audio commentary with J.J. Abrams. The deleted scene was pretty cool. It's a short little scene. It was unfinished. It was one that we've heard about before. That I've read about this scene being cut from some articles months ago. But Unkar Plot tracks down Rey at Maz's cantina, which is surprising. I guess I'm kind of glad it wasn't in there, because that's such a crazy commitment. Like, Unkar Plot was so committed to get her back that he flew all the way to Takodana. I don't know how he found her in the first place. I guess
I was about to say,
tracking thing on the Falcon.
I don't know about. I was thinking maybe he just hangs out there.
Oh, he may be.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Okay, that's more realistic. Okay, and just saw her,
and just be like, wait a minute, where's my ship?
Yeah, that's pretty cool. And Chewie kind of intervenes between the two, and I'm pretty sure I read this. I was talking to our buddy Cody. I think he rips Unkar Plot's arm off, or was supposed to.
Yeah, because I think the headline said that, right? Don't
Don't mess with the Wookiee.
Don't mess with Wookiee.
Yeah.
Rip your yeah.
So I think in that scene he's supposed to. Maybe we'll see it later
Oh
on.
my gosh,
That's gonna be nuts.
That's
that's rough. Yeah.
That's gonna be a lot of blood.
Yeah, no lightsaber
No.
cauterizing that wound. So that was a cool little moment. And then 2 clips of audio commentary. Did you see any of these?
I had not seen those.
Pretty cool. The first one I saw was the scene between Ben Solo and Han on the bridge. They didn't show the whole scene, not the emotional, traumatic part, but pretty much up until that point where Ben starts talking about how he's being torn apart inside. Incredible. Abrams' commentary is very enlightening, basically giving out how he, the question of, does Kylo Ren is he truly debating whether or not to kill Han Solo, or whether or not, is he telling the truth and saying basically that he's being torn apart and that he's, he doesn't want to do something, but he doesn't want to go to the dark side, but he feels like he kind of has to, whatever,
Right.
And Abrams, should I say it on here? Abrams' opinion on the matter.
What's his
Should we wait?
opinion?
No, I mean, something's chatting. I don't know. People would want
No.
to wait. He thinks, that Kylo Ren was legitimately struggling with the decision he had to make, and really legitimately struggling with the dark side pulling him when he kind of doesn't want to go that route, which was great. Which I'm glad because that was my opinion, my optimistic opinion of it. I'm glad Abrams feels the same way. So because of that, people may have their opinions, but to me, canon wise, he struggled with it, and he really didn't want to. It tore him apart inside to have to do what he did in that scene. So that was a cool little. I'm so excited to hear the rest of that commentary. And then the second scene was Rey finding Anakin's lightsaber in Maz's basement, I guess you can call it, and it kind of goes through the Force back, most of the Force back there, or Force vision, where Force back. And that was pretty. It wasn't, he I wanted him to talk about answering questions things that were happening in the Force back, where are they when you see the Knights of Ren? Are they by the the Jedi Temple? Is that the Jedi Temple in the background? That kind of thing, and maybe go a little bit into that, which is asking for a lot, I guess. But he didn't talk about that. He mainly talked about Rey and what she was experiencing emotionally through that whole thing, which was cool. So it's gonna be awesome. I'm gonna listen to that, buy it, listen to it first thing when it comes out. I'm super excited.
So that's the 3D Blu-ray.
3D Blu-ray.
So you have to.
But is it the dual thing? Is it 3D Blu-ray and normal Blu-ray?
Probably, but
yeah.
Again,
Still.
I've already got the.
I know, but I want that commentary.
Why didn't I not put that on the original?
That's just what they do, man.
That's Disney, I
Yeah.
guess. I don't know.
Whatever.
I did read an article. I think it was a Facebook post or one of those things that. It was funny because it was a dad that was writing a different type of viewpoint for Kylo Ren, explaining it to his son or something like that. And his thing was, it was pretty neat. I'm sure people have mentioned this or thought about this, but it was the fact that, when he's on that bridge and he's saying, I don't know if I know what I need to do. I just don't know if I can do it. Mm-hmm. And what he's doing is he doesn't want to go down this path of the dark side,
Right.
because he's doing it. He knows that's the only way he can get to Snoke to kill him and defeat him. Yeah. Have you read this?
Well, we've talked, that's one of Corey's kind of theories that we talked about as well. But yeah, I mean, I've heard that theory before.
Because he's saying how he keeps feeling the light, and he wants to go to the light, but he can't because he knows he's got to. And that's what he keeps saying is I'm trying to fulfill what you did, grandfather, not to destroy the Jedi, but to actually destroy the Sith. Just like Obi-Wan says, right? Yeah. Like, you were meant to destroy the Sith, not join them, right? So I don't buy it, but I think it's an interesting theory.
It's a very good viewpoint. I don't think it's it's not something that I think that should be easily tossed away, because I think it is actually a very compelling point of view for that. I do not buy it just because of how Kylo behaves throughout the whole thing. Like, even at the end when he's fighting Rey, he's basically trying to pull her to the dark side.
Correct.
So, but I think that is a very compelling argument.
Plus, I mean, it's one. I guess. I mean, because I was about to say. No, I was about to say because he wiped out. Apparently, wiped out a ton of new Jedi.
Yeah, he killed him in the Knights of Ren.
That's a way. I don't know. You're really
committed.
going down the deep end. Yeah, exactly. If you're doing that,
but yeah, we'll see. I mean, there's still so many daggone questions need to be answered. It's killing me. Anywho, that's really pretty much all on the movie front.
I'm trying to find it, but I thought I read somewhere, and I saw an interview with Ewan McGregor. Did you see that? And he dropped a couple more lines about wanting to do an Obi-Wan movie still.
Yeah, he wants to do like a
two-parter.
He said that there weren't talks of doing that, which made me think, like, I feel like they still talked about something with Obi-Wan.
They had to have.
Like, because there's been other interviews
It's too many rumors and stuff out there.
And I mean, why wouldn't you have those conversations? Because everybody wants it.
Absolutely.
Everybody wants it. I don't know who would not want to see that.
Yeah, and that's what's kind of funny is everybody's been screaming for an Obi-Wan movie, and no one ever probably thought of a Han Solo movie.
Yeah,
but they chose to do that instead of, and using the same character that played Obi-Wan Kenobi, and a guy that's willing to do it. Absolutely. I mean, I think it's inevitable. I really do think that they could be debating on whether or not it could be a live action thing. Because you got to think about it. That's fairly low budget. Because if you're centering on Tatooine, it's just desert. You're not doing a lot of visual effects like you are in a space. So it'd be different than following a bounty hunter through space, right? So I would think that they would do either. I mean, I don't say television, live action. I mean like a Netflix series versus a movie, maybe. So I think they're debating on which one to do, and whether or not, and honestly, whether or not there's obviously because the more and more I hear, Pablo talk. I don't hear much from Leland much anymore. Leland G, but you hear a lot from Pablo and there's a couple other story group people that talk a lot too about what they do, and because I do think there's that we talked about it before, but I still think there's most people out there that think that the story group is strictly there for continuity purposes. But they're not. They're actually the ones crafting all the stories and making sure that the stories make sense, that the stories are meaningful in a sense to really push the Star Wars world, So I do think that there's a lot of discussion going on about what story are we trying to tell with Obi-Wan? Are we just trying to fill in a gap that what is he doing, or what meaningful story that we can get to that, like we've been saying, doesn't start questioning other parts of the timeline. You know what I mean? Like, wait a minute, I thought he was supposed to be like underground, but he's out there like fighting the Empire or something. It's like you can't do that, really.
Right.
So you kind of have to put him in a situation. But could Rebels be setting that up with Darth Maul?
Yeah. I mean, there's definitely an epic story that now has to be told.
Absolutely.
But
how awesome would it be if we actually see Ray Park fighting Ewan McGregor again?
I don't fall on my knees. I won't be able to get up. It's just what? How cool? How there could be nothing cooler,
right?
There could be nothing cooler,
nothing. And I think people would love episode 1 even more.
Yeah.
After seeing something like that,
I just
how crazy would that be?
Stop my heart! Like, this is
how crazy would that be? You know what I mean? And you clearly have just set that up because
yes,
you didn't see this last episode, but there's no Maul,
right?
and he's off doing it's over. He's off doing his thing, and Ezra's back doing his thing against the Empire. So it's like we don't know that story anymore.
Yeah.
There could be a Netflix series opening with freaking Maul flying his ship towards Tatooine. You know, it's like
Yeah.
how
Did we just? Yeah. This is a story the fans been wanting for years. Like, that would be the coolest thing.
That would be the cool. And there's you cannot tell me there's no doubt Ray Park is like ready to go. You know what I mean? I mean, come on.
That'd be the coolest, man. And yeah,
had that even crossed your mind at all?
No, not bringing Ray Park back. That has not crossed my mind.
I mean,
They could do it. They all could do it, man. I can't even. There's no words. It's too cool.
he'd have mechanical legs, though, but still, and Obi-Wan would look. Man,
be such a. I mean, with the way we've seen Maul progress as a character, it'd be such a different dynamic between the two.
Oh, absolutely.
He's not just a silent, feline kind of villain anymore. Just a raw animal. Like he's now a very calculating mastermind, intelligent, articulate, very smart villain.
And if I can recall correctly, the last time that they would have interacted would have been the comic, the Son of Dathomir comic, I think. So in that story, which is the last, for those of you who don't know, it's the last Star Wars comic series of Dark Horse. Mm-hmm. And it's the only Dark Horse that is actually considered canon. Mm-hmm. So some people might think that it started with Marvel, but it didn't. This was the last one based on scripts from Filoni in the story in Clone Wars series. Obi-Wan's in that series a little bit. I can't remember too much of it. It's a whole thing about continuing kind of him taking over the Mandalorians and Death Watch, and not Death Watch, but Black Sun, getting all that stuff, and so but obviously what we know from some Celebration interviews about the Ahsoka, and then a little bit about in the book, is Obi-Wan and Anakin weren't the last to fight him. In a sense, it was Ahsoka. Mm-hmm. So, of course, Episode 3 happens, and Maul basically just disappears in a sense. I mean, no one, until obviously he resurfaces in Rebels 15 years later or whatever, right? So there is that. I mean, you're talking about 15 years where this guy just basically disappears.
Yeah.
But you kind of find out what he's been searching for. He's been searching for knowledge.
Yeah.
Right? He's been searching for, how do I become relevant again? How do I find out the information I'm seeking? In as we found out, one of the informations that he's seeking is whether or not Obi-Wan is still alive.
Yeah.
Because he has this vendetta against him.
Yeah.
That started in Episode 1. You know, it's like, gosh, how, 25, 30, almost 25.
Almost 30 years.
Almost 30 years, correct? Is that right?
10, between 1 and 2, 3.
10, 3,
15, 28 years.
To 28, 30 years. Yeah, you're right. So, I mean, man. So basically what I'm getting at is, like you just said, I mean, if they would see each other again, which, look, it's pretty inevitable. I mean, they're laying it down.
Oh, it's going to happen.
It's going to happen.
Whether or not we see it in Rebels, comic, novel, movie, whatever, it's going to happen.
It is going to happen. So the dynamic and the situations that each of them are in at that point, it's like, oh man. I mean, just think of Obi-Wan's reaction. Like, he has no, I mean, I would guess he has no idea this guy's even around still.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, it'd shake up a lot of stuff for him. Yeah, freak him out.
That's awesome.
I'm just trying to look at pictures of Ray Park, and it's like, yeah, he's still, he's got it. I mean,
he was at
just Snake Eyes not too long ago.
Correct, and he was at Celebration, doing moves and stuff on stage. He would totally be down. I mean, it would be awesome.
And
Plus, again, they both have aged. You know what I mean?
Perfect.
So
yeah, it's perfect.
Episode 1 was it's been that was 99, so that was 10, 17 years ago.
Yeah, I'm trying to think.
And then they filmed it a couple years before that.
It will the time that this next battle would take place
Would be longer. About the time. It's longer. You're right. It's longer.
But their age is right, and you can make them a little older because 15
from episode 1 though.
Yeah, I mean, Ewan McGregor was playing a little older than what he really was in episode 3. But now 15 years later, after that, it's been 10 years since episode 3, since it was made, but 15 years chronologically.
Yes.
So,
but that 15 years coming from Clone Wars.
Sure.
The last time they kind of fought each other a little bit.
Yeah.
Because they interacted again, I think, during Clone Wars, didn't they? Before.
Yeah, they did. Well,
after he got resurfaced.
Savage, yeah. They fought again.
Yes, they did. So technically, 15 years after that, 17 years,
it's just great too.
Well, 17. Technically, it's almost 17.
Yeah. And if you don't make anything with Obi-Wan now, which we're going to get it somehow. But I mean, you have Ewan McGregor. You can make something 10 years down the road with Obi-Wan Kenobi and Ewan McGregor. Like he just right now, it's just great because he's aging and getting closer to the age of Alec Guinness. Like it's perfect.
Now, how old was Alec Guinness?
He was about 60, I think,
when he did episode 4. Do you know for sure?
I don't know.
He was born in
60.
He was born in 1914. So he was
63.
He was
60-ish, 2 years before. So like 75.
75. So 60. So 61.
61. Okay.
So 61. And Ewan McGregor
He actually had his birthday while they were filming. I remember seeing that in the documentary.
April. What was April? So they shot April 75 or something? Yeah. So Ewan McGregor is right now 45.
Mm-hmm.
So he was 30 when they filmed. No, it was 20 years ago.
He was early
20 years
He was
ago.
like mid 20s, I think. When they
25, 26 when he
episode 1.
When they did episode 1. But now he's 45, so technically, I mean, again, yes, they can make him age 15 years to make him look like.
I think that's easy for what we can do now.
But wait a minute, so let's backtrack this real quick. In episode 1, how old is Obi-Wan?
I think that's what 21.
Probably early 20s. Is that right?
I feel like I remember a long time ago reading he was around 21.
So if he's 20, so 21,
the Wikipedia,
then 31, episode 2, right?
Mm-hmm.
34-ish, and then
which is about
20 years.
Yeah,
would be 54-ish. So he's close to what Alec Guinness was. Correct.
Yeah.
He's close. Maybe a little younger, but that's about right. Yeah, that's about right.
Let's see if Wikipedia has anything on canon-wise on the birth of Obi-Wan.
Oh, right.
57 years before the Battle of Yavin. So he died when he was 57. So yeah, it was about.
That's canon. This is canon.
This is in the canon side of Wikipedia.
He died 57 years before.
No, he was born 57 years before. So he died when he was 57. He died at the Battle of Yavin, or right before the Battle of Yavin. So he was 57. His character was 57 when he died.
Oh, so that did we just count that out right? 21, 31, 34.
A little younger than what we thought.
34 and 20.
So 19 years before
53.
That, he'd be.
You said 57, so I had 4 years. So he's about 25 in episode 1. About 25. Is that right? Yeah.
Yeah.
25, 35, 38, and 19, 57. Yeah. So 20. And that sounds about right because I think, you would think Padawans were Padawans for a long time.
Yeah.
I mean, since early teens, after they were younglings.
For about, 10 or so years, I'd say.
For about 10, 15 years for sure. Because Jedi Knight was a big step.
Yeah.
So, so that's about right.
Cool, man. Awesome.
Because I guess if you think about it, Anakin was a Padawan when he became a Padawan. He was 8? It was 8 or 9. Mm-hmm. And then still 10 years later, at 19, he was still a Padawan. Mm-hmm. Episode 2, right?
Yep.
some point he gets. See that we never saw him get knighted.
Yeah, we did. Well, actually, no. We saw in the 2D.
Correct.
Sorry.
So we never saw him canonly get knighted.
Yeah, that's correct.
So he didn't. He got knighted some point during the Clone Wars. Then I'm assuming, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It also says here,
it had to have been right before the. Well, it had to have been literally right before the clone. Because during the Clone Wars, he doesn't have the. Yeah.
No, it was.
Then they cut the hair off. I think, right?
Yeah, we just don't know the time frame between the earliest, but yeah. So at some point there, he was definitely
knighted.
Yeah. Very cool.
Very cool. Anyway, all right.
That was a
so real quick, let's do some reviews here. I'll talk a little bit about the next episode of Rebels. I said Clone Wars. Rebels, which was the was it the third? Yeah, it was the third episode, right?
Mm-hmm.
So third episode of Rebels called Hera's Heroes. Very good episode. We kind of get back to the Thrawn situation. Like I said earlier, actually, this is episode 5, and that's only because the first one was a two-parter. So this was about Hera's home planet of oh dang it, what is her home planet?
Twilight home planet. I should know this.
Yeah, shoot, look that up. Sorry, but anyway, Chan Syndulla, her father is in this episode again. He's been in several episodes now of Clone Wars and Rebels now, but Ryloth, yes, thank you. Shoes. Ryloth is obviously has been established a base. The Imperials have established a base there. Now the cool thing about it is so Chan, her father, he is it Chan or Cham? Cham. So Cham is actually living as a elected official there. So he's got a big place, and that's where Thrawn has kind of. So the idea of the episode is there's a family heirloom that Hera is very, very fond of. That was her mother's. And the whole mission of this is actually to infiltrate her house and get back that heirloom, and that's it really, and take it back. So, but that's what's cool is that you hear in this episode you're learning how Thrawn is studying his opponents,
right,
and learning about their backgrounds, and obviously he learns a great deal about Hera in this episode. So. Pretty cool episode. Very good to forward the whole situation with Thrawn, but Thrawn is that's pretty good. That's pretty cool. So check that out. Brand new episode, of course, next week. On Disney XD Saturday nights. So then the excerpt, right?
Right.
Rogue One.
There's a Catalyst excerpt kind of released out there, and it was, I guess not even a chapter. It's a pretty small excerpt, but it was pretty interesting.
I'm pumped about that book.
I have to buy a physical copy. I can't do the audiobook. I feel I just need to invest in the. Because the audiobooks, I get distracted. I'm kind of sometimes multitasking a bit, so I don't pay attention to all the details, mainly the main story arc. But for this book, I need to pay attention to the details. So I'm gonna read it. Good old fashioned reading a book. The excerpt was pretty cool. It feels like it was something from early on in the novel, because we know the basic plot where it's set during the Clone Wars. Krennic is good friends with Galen Erso, and he recruits him for this secret plan to build a super weapon. But it's interesting. The excerpt almost makes it sound like, well, it is like Galen was in prison at the beginning of this excerpt, and Krennic kind of bails him out. Doesn't it's not an escape. He just like it's like a transition exchange. So he gets Galen Erso, his wife Lyra, and baby Jen. Jen is an infant at this point, at least in the excerpt. And it's like, yeah, it's almost like they're friends. Like Krennic's talking really nice, friendly to Galen, like, oh, it's good to see you. I'm glad you're doing well, and all that stuff. And like, it's getting excited about seeing Jen for the first time. Like, oh, is that the baby? Oh, she's gorgeous, and it's just bizarre. And then they get ambushed by a separatist ship, and that's kind of the basics of the excerpt. It's pretty cool. It makes me even more excited about the book. I feel like it's going like Ahsoka answers a lot of good questions about Ahsoka and that kind of gap between 3 and Rebels, episode 3 and Rebels, and about crystals and how the rebellion started, that kind of stuff. This book, Catalyst, is looking to really answer a lot of questions about the Death Star mainly.
Yes. Yeah.
I
think a lot of Imperial questions.
Yeah, because a lot of questions have been raised throughout time. And it's just like, I thought Tarkin was in charge of it. I thought the Geonosians started it. The Death Star. Why is it taking so long to build it? All this kind of stuff. So, Catalyst should answer a lot of questions, and Rogue One will hopefully answer the rest of those questions. But it's just the book has a lot of potential to really fill some holes.
So that scene that we've seen in the trailer with a young Jin, do you think that's in this book?
I don't think so.
Or after? So this takes place after that?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I think the book is going to show mostly starting off a good relationship between Krennic and Galen, and then gradually start to deteriorate. And I think
there's a little bit of Clone Wars in there, right?
I don't know how much of it is, but yeah, it's definitely set during the Clone Wars, at least starting off. Who was it? Was it Pablo Hidalgo? I think Hidalgo was the one who was kind of describing the relationship between these characters like Krennic and Erso as like a social network, kind of like these guys are good friends in this big, phenomenal, life, galaxy changing project.
Krennic stuck with the Empire.
Yeah, it is like tearing them apart
Yeah.
So it's
wow. So that's a huge storyline that you can't possibly really tell in Rogue One.
Probably not,
because Rogue One's about all these other characters.
Yeah, and I think Hidalgo also said there's going to be nuggets from this book or connections from this book that will be made with Rogue One that you won't know without having read the book. So we'll probably be watching Rogue One and be like, oh my gosh, that makes sense, or I know why they did this. Or
that's why you got to read it.
Yeah, you got to read this book before you see the movie. I mean, you don't have to, but I'm guessing there's a lot of hidden, connections that you will totally get and will make you love the movie even more by reading the book. So you got to read the book. November 15th, I think.
Yeah.
So same day as the Blu-rays for Force Awakens. So you got a month to read it.
You do.
We can do it.
I will.
You got a month to listen to it.
I will have an audiobook and I will listen to. Yeah, because so as we transition to Ahsoka, no, I am, and I can't remember if did I mention it that I was listening to it last week? Because I don't know where we recorded. I think
you were.
I started listening to it. I think a day after. I think we might have recorded that same day. So I think I started listening. Yeah, because I listened to the first part. I told you about the first part, the prologue. Yeah, which had the mall situation. So I think no, I'm hooked because right now I've got a list of the next books on my audio on my catalog, on my cart, basically on audible.com. I'm thinking, okay, which one do I want to get into before I get into Catalyst?
Yeah, exactly.
Because I want to do one more. I think I have time to do one more before Catalyst comes out, which I'm leaning towards, because I wanted to start Aftermath, but I didn't want to have to get through 2 books before Catalyst. So I'm actually thinking about either I really actually want to do Tarkin.
I almost did Tarkin, but
because Tarkin, is there stuff in there about
the Death Star? Yeah, it should. No, but no one's saying oh, this question's answered from Tarkin. This question, they talk about the Tarkin doctrine. That I know, and about I
might have to do Tarkin. I might, just in the premise of this whole time frame right now.
Yes.
How much that maybe plays into what's happening with Krennic and where he is, because we see him in Rebels. I mean, he's around,
and
I don't know if is he a Grand Moff? No, right? I don't think he's a Grand Moff, is he, in Rebels? Or is he?
I think he is.
He's a Grand Moff at that point?
Because I'm actually Ahsoka's my first audiobook I've ever done. I'm moving on to another one, Lost Stars.
Yes.
And Tarkin's in that a little bit in the beginning, and
that jumps a lot, doesn't it?
It does jump a lot.
Yeah.
But when the start of the movie, it is about 5 or so years, I think, into it, and he's already a Grand Moff. So I think he's made Grand Moff pretty early on. Again, for those of you who are listening who've already read Tarkin are probably like,
exactly.
You know,
he's a Grand Moff. So you find out. Maybe you find out in that.
Sure.
Because I'm sure
that jumps time.
Because that goes through his life.
Yeah,
right?
It's almost like it's a biography, basically.
I'm gonna probably do Tarkin now. I just convinced myself. Because I was either gonna probably do Tarkin or New Dawn because of Rebels, and I'm gonna say Bloodline. I think, but
yeah,
you're reading.
I'm still in. I read some last night and I finally found out it's about 23, 25 years after Jedi.
Yes,
Bloodline is.
Yeah,
it
kind of sets up Force Awakens.
Yeah, I like it a lot, and I'm reading that. I'm reading Aftermath, and I'm listening to Lost Stars. I'm trying to get through as much as I can. I love it. They're all pretty awesome.
No, I'm pretty. I see. Look, my bottom line, and I suggest anybody out there that is having a hard time finding the time to read. Like I mean, for one, I'm not a fast reader as far as when it comes to novels, and especially when it takes. I have to put, because I did start reading A New Dawn as soon as I got it. But, after a while, I had to put it down for a few days. And by the time I get back to it, it's like, God, what did I read? You know what I mean? So what's helped me a lot, I'm telling you, is audiobook. This audiobook that I got for Ahsoka. For one, I was surprised. Of course, everybody that's listening that does audiobooks, like, well, duh. It's like an audio drama. There's music, there's sound effects. And the beauty of this book is it's narrated by Ahsoka. Ashley Eckstein does the narration for this. So it took a little bit to get used to, because I was like, God, Ahsoka's talking to me this whole time. But no, it's but no, when you have a commute kind of like we do, which is 20, 25 minutes, 30 minutes to work. I mean, I got through this thing in less than a week. Yeah. Just driving around the book, and then sometimes at night, just putting it on before I go to bed a little bit. I did, yeah. But yeah, it just for someone like me that's just hard. It's good. Again, not a big reader of novels, and I have the time in the car to listen. It's just great, man.
I definitely. For me, I tried to listen to this while doing some editing or doing some other work at home, and I do get distracted and you do miss out on some things. So you do it is better if you are driving or if you can just sit and just listen to it.
Correct.
Which for me, it's like, well, if I just sit and listen to it, why don't I just read the book as well? Because I love sitting and investing in a book and just sitting down and cracking a book open. And that's what I did pretty much all through high school and middle school, but the audiobook, it is very involving because of the sound effects and the music, and it this may sound cliche and cheesy, but if you close your eyes, you can really imagine it, because you can hear the Star Wars music playing, you hear the sound effects, like, oh my gosh, this is so cool.
No, right in the beginning when I'm like, I'm seeing the Star Wars symbol fall back And the first time she starts talking about the Force, binary sunsets playing, it's like, oh man, I got chills. There was a point, which I'll get to, that I teared up a little bit on certain points. Because again, to be honest, being my first audiobook, I was just expecting Ashley Eckstein reading the book to me.
Then Ahsoka ran down the road.
Truly. I did expect her to add some voice to the characters, but I did not expect any sound effects and any music. So I thought I mean, it'd be just like Casey standing here reading the book to me, you know. But no, it added it's like an audio. That's why I almost feel like they should call them audio dramas, not audio books, because an audio drama is what they used to get way back when our parents were, especially my father, but when he was a kid, that's all they had was radio dramas. They would come on as serials, right? You didn't have TV shows, you'd have radio dramas.
And I've even listened to the old Superman ones.
Yes, exactly like that. Totally.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how these things to me should be pushed, because I think, look, again, people might be listening and like, well, duh, that's how they are. It's like, but listen, I'm not into novel. I'm into Star Wars, and I've read my fair share, but I haven't done I haven't tried the audio side.
Yeah, and here's the thing that I have just found out, because I've always been like, well, listen, I love to read it, and I don't mind doing Kindles. I love the physical book, but Kindles are still good. But I wish the Kindles came with the audiobook, because audiobooks are so expensive.
Absolutely.
And there's a thing that some books have this feature on Amazon. If you buy the Kindle version, I think it's called Whisper Sync. But basically, it's like you buy the Kindle, which is usually cheaper than the book itself, and then for a little bit extra, well, it's not a little bit, but it's cheaper than buying just simply the audiobook. But for paying an additional price, you get the audiobook with it, and you can easily switch between the two. So like you're reading the Kindle book, and then you can pick up from right there in the audiobook. So if you like to read the book, but don't always have time to read.
That's a pretty good deal.
Like you read the book at night before you go to bed, but then on your way to work tomorrow, listen to the audiobook of it, and you can switch back and forth.
But see, what sucks about me though is I want the physical copy on my shelf.
Yes,
that's it.
Yeah,
like I'm holding the Ahsoka book right now in my hand, but I'll never read it. I'll put it on my shelf because it looks good. It goes with all my other novels that I got. But if I ever want to read it again, I'll listen to it again, right? Because I have the file. But I will admit that I think, Audible.com, which is kind of the leader, I guess, in audiobooks, right? I mean, iTunes does it too, I think, don't they? They do iBooks.
You have iBooks, you have audiobooks.com,
but I think they
audible.com.
Yeah, and I think they all are roughly the same price.
Yeah, they are, yeah.
So, but I do like about, Audible.com is a subscription. No, I don't know. Oh, there's other ones. I know iBooks is not.
So.
You buy per.
Yeah, I think
but the beauty about Audible, technically, you could get it cheaper than all those other ones because it's $30 or so for the Ahsoka book. But you can subscribe monthly, and you get basically for $15 a month, you get a book.
Yeah.
So you're paying $15 a month, and you get one book. They give you a credit every month, and you can use it to buy a book. Now, but being $15 a month, and then if you want another book, it's highly discounted. So in the end, I think if you're saving money, if you're reading, if you're doing it. So if you do decide to do audiobooks, like right now, if I do Tarkin, I will have to pay for it, but I'll pay a lesser price than what I would pay if I went to iBooks or something like that. So it seems like a pretty good deal. So anyway, I'm on it. I'm on board. I like the audio thing, and plus, again, it's right on your. I mean, it's right on your device. Yeah. It's right. I walk into my car, I plug it in, and I'm listening right away. And it's just,
I'm reserving audiobooks for the novels I probably won't care to buy and read. So like I have the Lost Stars one. I got the Battlefront novel audiobook and the 3 novelizations. The Princess Scoundrel Farm Boy, So Gonna Be a Jedi, all those, because I just want to see what those are like.
I've got every Star Wars canon book in my wish list right now. So I'm just building that up, and if I want to get to it, because it's funny because I have I think I have all the novels. Now I say all the novels. Now there's I don't have all the books because there's been a lot of junior books, but I have all of what's considered. Is this called this is a junior novel? Is that what this is?
Young adult novel.
Young adult, maybe, or something like that.
More like young. Your juniors are like the really, really small ones. That's young adult.
Young adult. And then you have adults, which are the Del Rey. So Del Rey does all the adult novels. So those are your, Dark Disciples and Tarkin and Battlefront and Aftermath. And then you have, I guess, what you're saying, young adult. Now that's Lost Stars.
Lost Stars, definitely.
Ahsoka.
Yeah.
And then all those ones that I have up there that were come out before The Force Awakens, which was the Han Solo one, the I can't see the names, but the Smuggler's Run.
Yeah, the Secret Weapon one.
Secret Weapon.
What was called? What was that?
That was the Perfect Weapon.
Perfect Weapon. Yeah.
But that was just an audiobook. Now that's a novel.
Oh, okay.
But it was just an audio version because I had that in my wish list as well. It's so that was only released as an audiobook.
Okay.
And it's short. It's very short. It's only like an hour or something like that. But those ones before The Force Awakens or before The Awakening, which had the 3 stories. Now that one is not. I didn't see that on Audible.com as an audiobook. Now, thankfully, I read about half. I read the Rey story. That one I'll just read probably. But anyway, what I'm getting at is that some of them are adults. Some of them are, and I think you can determine it by the publishing house. Del Rey does all the adults one. This is Lucasfilm. This is Lucasfilm Press. That does the young adults.
Yeah. So is those novelizations.
Yeah. And then I think the junior novels, because there's a bunch of
there's tons of
Rebels.
Those. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Junior novels. And I think there's another publisher that does that. Does those. So anyway, I got all the young adult and adult ones on my wish list now. So I'll, as I get new credits, I'll just maybe just hit one and start listening to it. But because I think I'll buy Tarkin, but then I think my credit will come up when Catalyst comes out. Okay. So then I'll use my credit for Catalyst and then I'll read. Cool. I listen to Catalyst. Anyway, so let's talk about. Let's review Ahsoka now. Warning: we will.
Warning.
I don't want to spoil too much, but we will probably talk about some spoiler things.
The story itself.
Yeah, so go ahead.
The story itself is. It's good, but what I'm getting at is there's nothing too surprising necessarily about it. I mean, it's from Clone Wars, Ahsoka during Clone Wars, or right after Clone Wars, Order 66, to her becoming Fulcrum. So it's just stuff that happens in between there, but the end result is she becomes Fulcrum at the very end.
Correct.
But
spoiler.
Oh gosh, but we're gonna focus on the cool surprises that we didn't know were going to be in there, like these other links to other things in the Star Wars universe, like Bail Organa being in it. Of course, he would of course be in it if Fulcrum gets involved.
But he was in it a lot more than I thought he was.
Yeah, and that's pretty cool. Learning how he's trying to start the rebellion, seeing little Leia, that kind of stuff. It was pretty cool. And throughout the book, there are these little flashbacks. There's about 6 flashbacks. One's the prologue. And then you have one with Anakin right before he gets Ahsoka as an apprentice. One about kyber crystals, which we'll talk about, all this kind of stuff, and then one about Obi-Wan Kenobi, which we'll talk about, which is awesome. So it is a cool book. I liked it. I enjoyed it.
I liked it.
It definitely has that young adult feel to it, just like I'm reading Lost Stars, right, or listening to Lost Stars, and it's almost like a Twilight book. It feels like it's good, but it's
a love story.
It's a love story, so it's a little different than your average Star Wars story, but it is cool. It's very fun to listen to. Maybe it's just because I was listening.
Which is funny because that's the same writer as Bloodline,
Claudia Gray. Yeah, and it's because I was listening to it, but it seemed like Ahsoka took a while to set up. It was a while. It wasn't until about maybe even halfway or a good third of the way, which third of the way is average for a book, but about seemed a little longer than that, where really the story didn't start. Like, because we're introduced to the main villain. You're thinking the main villain
a little more halfway through.
Yeah, because you think the main villain's going to be this Imperial guy,
correct?
Jenner, whatever his name is.
Yes,
who kind of gets stumbled into this stuff that Ahsoka's this chaos.
Well, he's basically establishing. He's basically slowly taking over each system almost. You know, he's the one enforcing Imperial rule on places that are where these people don't think that the Imperials are going to be coming. It's Outer Rim stuff, right? It's all she's bouncing around the Outer Rim.
Yeah, Ahsoka's kind of going around almost like a woman with no name, like she's kind of going around helping people, that kind of a thing. While this planet she goes to, Raida, the Imperials are there, seemingly just to control it. Later, you found out it's because of kyber crystals.
That's right.
That is a spoiler at the end. It's because of kyber crystals, but and this Imperial is just in charge of it. But you think he's the villain, but really later on, halfway through the novel, it's an Inquisitor, which I did not know that. It's the
sixth brother.
The sixth brother, yeah. And he seemed pretty cool. And so I was like, okay, wow, this is going to get interesting now because we got an Inquisitor, we got Ahsoka, and
And there's even an appearance from the Grand Inquisitor
at the very end, yeah.
So there's I get like you. I loved. I wouldn't say I liked the book a lot.
Yeah.
But I truthfully, if it wasn't for a lot of those familiarities,
yeah,
and mentions and things that I can really hook onto and relate to, it would have been a very average book for me, to be honest. Because like you said, there's some story there, but there's a lot of I want to say meaningless, but there's just unforgettable characters in there, right? There's nobody else that kind of these people are now, and I remember correctly, they're all human, I think, right? She even says, I think they're all human. She was the only,
and yeah, that's true.
She was one of the only aliens, I guess. Or
that's true because again, I'm not as memorable of the details in this book just because I was listening to it and I was multitasking. But yeah, normally I would be invested in all those little characters and all that stuff. But yeah, I only can recall. Really, Caden is the only character name I can recall because there's other Star Wars.
There's
names.
Miria. There's her sister. His sister was Miria, I think.
Yeah. And there was a bunch of other ones, and like there's just a lot of moments in this book where I'm listening, kind of casually listening to it, but then something crazy happens. I'm like, wait, what? And I have to go back and rewind it.
Yes.
One of them was the Obi-Wan moment.
Totally.
Another part was towards the end of this book, and this is a big spoiler, people. When all those people died, except for two of them.
By the Inquisitor.
Yes. That was horribly dark.
It was very dark.
Scene where
I was thinking the same thing. Like a young kid can read this?
Yeah, this is nuts. This
and violently.
It's really quickly all these characters get killed by their own blast fire. And
I was about to say, yeah.
And then this other dude gets chopped in half.
Yes.
Like, what?
I think it was the brother.
Yeah.
Or something like that. Yeah, lightsaber.
That was nuts. That was really nuts.
Yeah, he deflects all the blaster fire back to the people that were shooting. I mean, half the village was like shooting at him, and he just kills them all. And then he breaks the one arm of Caden.
Yeah.
And takes her. Is it her? Caden's
Caden's
her.
girl.
Yeah, so takes her prisoner as a as bait for bringing Ahsoka back. Because at this point, Ahsoka leaves. Right? Yeah, right. Mm-hmm. So. But there's also I was interested in what I did like was on the Beskha, which was her first planet that she was on and came back to. Mm-hmm. She was with a very well-known family on that.
The Fardies.
Which
okay. Well, yeah. Fardi.
I was about to say I was going to look that up in the print because I was like, is she saying farty, like fart?
Yeah, the whole time
fart, like D, like D.
Fardies,
like
Hardies, but F. But
yeah,
that's
there
what
you go.
same.
There you go.
Yeah, Fardies, not farties. Fardies.
Yeah. Yes. So
sorry, guys.
But what's cool? What I did like is at some point because of the shadow. The young one,
cool.
How they talked about a shadow that was following them. Mm-hmm. It was because the young one was force sensitive.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome.
It was pretty awesome because you get your first real taste of the purpose of these Inquisitors, which was to hunt down force sensitive children and basically kill them.
Yeah,
I mean that's what the whole purpose of these. That's why it's so awesome. It goes to Episode 4, right? Obi-Wan. During there's Vader was seduced by the dark side of the Force. He helped the Empire hunt down and destroy the Jedi Knights. Now, they're not Jedi, but they did what they could against the Jedi. But then at the same time, they were preventing anybody else possibly being a threat, which is anybody Force sensitive, right? So all these kids are getting gobbled up and murdered, basically. So this was an example of an inquisitor that was shadowing somebody that was potentially force sensitive, but luckily he got drawn away because the reports of an actual Jedi that was on Raeda. So overall, we both definitely liked the book. Mm-hmm. And again, let's just run through some of these moments. Look, if I did not see that interview with Filoni at Celebration, mm-hmm. They talk about Ahsoka's story. This is where this book was announced. Mm-hmm. I would have been floored reading this prologue, right? Mm-hmm. That she's fighting Darth Maul.
Yeah.
Or Maul at the time, I guess Maul. Because again, we heard this from Filoni that this is what happened. Now, I'm a little upset that we didn't get a little bit more of the story leading up to it.
Yeah.
Because I thought we would. Because I wanted to hear Anakin talking to her about leading Rex and leading those troopers. You know what I mean? Like we heard on the interview with Filoni. But I felt like that the start of the book was hands down pretty awesome.
It was a good hook.
So, cool. And what we're talking about obviously is the fight that captured Maul. Now, see, that's the thing too, is he gets captured, but then we don't know anything. And the next thing we know, he turns up in Rebels, right? Yeah. 15 years, 16 years later. So it'd be interesting to find out how he got out or got released, and blah blah blah. So anyway. Really neat. Just on top of that, at some point down the road, it talks about how she fakes her death. Mm-hmm. And another thing I don't think we've found out right is how and when Rex removed his chip.
Yeah.
Right. Because I know I did want to go back and watch those Lost Missions about that whole 66 thing, because I don't think at the end of that they're still in the dark about it, right? Because Fives is the one that tries to let everybody know or realizes that something's going on. But anyway, so somehow they survive. Now, Rex fakes his death also. There's a grave there for Rex. Mm-hmm. But then she buries her sabers, like right in the dirt above him, to kind of show that, hey, Rex was able to kill this Jedi, but he lost his life, and there he is. And that was supposed to keep the thought of that she's gone.
Yeah,
that is why she doesn't have those sabers when we see her again. So she gave those sabers up. Goes into hiding. Now, the beginning of the book takes place 1 year later after Empire Day, right? So it's the first anniversary of Empire Day. And, we learned that she just doesn't have her sabers, and, she's kind of living on her, just...
Ashla.
Ashla, that's right. That's right. So that was a good moment. And then I think the other ones, like you said, were... the one that really gave me chills and tears a little bit was the Bail Organa working at his office. A 1-year-old Leia, I'm like, oh my gosh, that is so freaking neat. And he talks about walking out onto that balcony where he first brought her home.
Yeah.
It's just cool to think about, like the impact that Leia is going to have years later, and how Bail. But what I thought of a lot whenever Bail was brought up in this book was, what Bail's got to be probably the most patient guy in the universe.
That's a good point. Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah,
he's literally waiting. And waiting. But it's good to know, based on this book too, that he has actually been working on the rebellion for that time, right? He really just, because there's those thoughts sometimes, at least I have them, of him, again, just going on with his life, faking that he's with the Empire and, he's secretly having these meetings or whatever, blah, blah, blah. But it seems like it turns out that he from day one he's been organizing a rebellion.
Yeah.
But we do think, but we do kind of realize that, because we both have that question of, well, God, it seems like she's been fulcrum for a long time.
She kind of has, yeah.
But I think ultimately she's been recruiting.
Yeah.
Over those.
And we know now from Rebels that there's been more than one fulcrum. But she started it. She was the first one.
That's right.
To do that.
And we also know from Rebels that there has been little cells rebelling for years. They just never been in alliance.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Yeah, alliance. Good.
In alliance.
That's the word.
So what? Then go ahead and mention what do you think about the Obi-Wan one?
That was cool. It was
totally unexpected.
Gosh, it was unexpected. I know they ended at the worst or the worst part because they ended with Qui-Gon talking to Obi-Wan.
Oh man,
finding that communication there I'm assuming to teach him how to communicate in the afterlife and how to live on after death. And it was so cool. But throughout the flashback,
was that the first time? It had to have been the first.
I think it was the first time
because it's only been a year.
Yeah.
Since episode 3, basically.
Yeah. But like the whole time, throughout it, Obi-Wan's thinking about Luke. He goes to Shmi's grave.
Yes.
He's basically apologizing.
Yes.
That what happened to Anakin, that kind of a thing. And then Qui-Gon, what does he say? Like, let go or something like that? He says something like that. Like,
yes. He has to let go of his fears and go deeper in meditation, basically.
Man.
Just keep falling, basically, into the levels, deep levels of the Force. Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden, then he hears I was like, and then, it ended. I was like,
what? Back up. What was that? That was pretty awesome. That was
pretty awesome.
That was very cool.
And then, of course, like you said, there were some moments with Anakin that were really good. But as the story goes on, the final big reveal, I guess, an explanation is to do with what I feel like we've been getting a lot of in the past year is kyber crystals.
Yeah.
And how the kyber crystals kind of are connected to each of the Jedi. Mm-hmm. So basically, without quoting kind of straight out of the book, but they basically did a big explanation of where the colors come from and why the colors are. Now, again, people may have read this kind of stuff already in other books, maybe, possibly, but I feel like what I'm hearing on the internet is there's now this explanation, which I don't. It seems like this is the canon explanation.
Yeah.
So of course, most of you should know the kyber crystals are mainly from the ice planet Elam, or Elam.
Yeah, whatever.
And so the fact that we saw in the Clone Wars where the crystals, you go to inside the cave and there's crystals all over, but you don't see them. You're drawn. Each Jedi is drawn to one, only one, and you hear kind of the harmony coming from that crystal, right? And it's a clear crystal, and when you build your lightsaber, it reflects kind of your created it's basically it connects on a deeply personal. I'm reading from the databank. It is an extension of the Jedi's Force awareness. So it really gets inside the Force user, and then it either glows blue or green, or in rare instances, a different color, which Mace is the rare instance. But ever since Rebels came out, or Ahsoka joined Rebels, you saw 2 white bladed sabers, right? So, and correct me if I'm wrong, Case, but I think what we heard in the book is that the Inquisitors or dark side users are basically, when they turn, in some cases, not all, because obviously Vader, created a new saber, and but it's in most cases, I'm assuming, is that when they turn to the dark side, they are then what she called bending the will of the crystal, which then makes it bleed.
Yeah.
Therefore, it's a red color. I think that's the best way that it was kind of explained.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
But I'll just throw out there, like, the question to me is, so, like, if Anakin didn't lose his saber to Obi-Wan, say he struck Obi-Wan down in Episode 3, right? And he kept using that saber, would it eventually turn red?
Yeah, I think so. Because, Vader has a different alliance to the Force, and therefore has a different... I think he's using the Force a different way. He's bending the Force a different way to his own will. Well, the fact that he's actually bending it to his will is the dark side.
Correct.
Aspect. So, by the very nature that the Kyber crystal is an extension of the Force wielder and attuned to their ability, to their affiliation, whatever, Vader is now changed. It's Anakin to Vader. It's now light side to dark side. That's an inherently different way of using the Force and using the crystal. So he's using the crystal now through a dark side perspective. So I think he would have to bend that crystal to his will, and so that would cause it to bleed and become red. So I think his blue saber would have become a red one.
But that also then begs the question of, when he did lose it and he constructed his new one, was the crystal, what crystal did he get for one? True. And was it blue or green first, and then eventually turned red, or was it a red automatically?
Yeah, I mean,
you know what I mean.
In the Ahsoka talks about the dark side users are stealing the crystals
from the Inquisitors.
The Inquisitors are
taking them from the old Jedis. That were killed basically in the temple. Because obviously, yes, there's all these lightsabers around here.
The crystals, dark crystals were made too. I'm reading from Ahsoka. Dark crystals were made too, but not in that holy place, referring to the
from
the caves. Yeah, Elam. The crystals were plundered from their rightful bearers and corrupted by the hands that stole them.
Yes.
So
they're using the crystal that was intended for somebody else.
Yeah, but that does raise a question of, do they have to be stolen from a Jedi? Correct. Or are they just referring to the Inquisitors stealing them? Because Anakin or Vader could have just found a crystal from a slain Jedi's lightsaber in the temple and bent that to his will. That's fine. Or did he go to a cave and pluck out a new one? Or did he care to even do that? So for me, I feel like if he did find a crystal from a cave, it would bleed and it would still become red. I think it would go through the same process. I don't think it would just become red.
Yeah, but there wouldn't be one that's calling to him.
True.
He would just take one.
He could find one probably and just...
Yes.
I would think so.
I would think so too.
Yeah.
Because I think even if me and you... I'm just saying, not me and you, but like if we were normal people in the Star Wars universe and we just built a lightsaber and put a crystal in there, I still think technically it would turn on green or blue.
Yeah.
Because the Force is everywhere, right?
Yeah.
It's just whether or not too many people, people don't want to hear me say this, but it depends on how many midichlorians you have that actually, whether you can hear this.
Well, your example,
you know what I'm saying?
It's true because Han Solo uses the lightsaber in Empire.
That's right.
So
that's
normal people can use lightsabers.
Yeah, but I'm saying if you constructed it, because that hue and that crystal will always be for at that. See, that's the thing. That saber is Anakin's.
Yeah,
that's not Luke's, because when Luke does build one, it's green, right? So that saber will always be blue. It says even on the database, it says from that point on, it retains that hue.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying, what if Han actually took a crystal out of a cave? Yeah. Put it in a saber.
Well, the thing is, too,
it would still turn on, is what I'm getting at.
True. Very true.
But wouldn't it? I mean, that's the thing. Wouldn't it?
I don't know, but see, the thing is, this is where we need story group here. I don't know if non-Force users could even construct a lightsaber, because I don't know if you have to use the Force to construct a lightsaber.
I mean, that's true.
And also, I don't know if Han Solo would have even found a crystal in the cave, because I don't think you can see them.
Okay, so that's true too, because
So
I think that there is a description about that
Yeah.
that you can only see the one you is calling to.
And I want to watch those episodes.
But how does Vader walk in there and get one?
I was going to come say, like, I don't know. I want to watch those episodes in the Clone Wars about the Gathering again, because I think one of the kids battled with something while he was trying to find his lightsaber, or he was being tempted by the dark side. I don't know, but maybe I'm wrong.
I know the one couldn't construct it correctly, but
so I don't think Vader would go. So maybe that's the point. Maybe all dark side users have to take it from someone that already has one, because they can go in a cave and find one.
And that's what I originally got out of the book for some reason. I felt like she was explaining how this Inquisitor had to have taken it from somebody else, because it wasn't calling to him.
So Vader had to have taken it from someone, and Dooku would have had to have taken it, unless Dooku's own. It's the same saber, and Dooku, like, because we talked about this before the show, like Count Dooku having his own lightsaber, and so he might have kept his own and it just bled red.
Yes, bled red eventually.
But Vader probably stole the crystal from some slain Jedi's saber and just plucked it, put it in his own. That makes sense.
But see, I also got out of that it does that as in it bleeds red because it's bending the will, because it's already was tied to somebody else.
Yeah.
Right? So if Dooku, that's the thing, is what I'm saying, is Dooku kept his sabers, it says right here, it retains that hue still. So
yeah. But my thinking is same with Anakin becoming Vader, although they are, they are two separate people in a way.
yes.
But Dooku becoming Tyrannus, it's two separate people. It's a whole different will, so to speak. Like the will of the light side, the will of the dark side. Like you're using the Force in completely different ways. So the crystals have to be used to have that color. They have to be used in the light side way. So once you start, regardless if it's Dooku or if it's anybody else, if it's Dooku now using his own saber in a different way, it only works if it's bent and bled to become red. I think.
Or I got a little bit of an explanation.
Yeah.
I think it may be part of the rite of passage
Mm-hmm.
to be a Sith, is that you're given a saber, like Sidious would eventually given Vader a saber of a different crystal, because you just made a good point that he is a different person now. He shouldn't be using Anakin's saber anymore.
Yeah, that's true.
He should be using a Darth Vader saber, right?
Mm-hmm.
So maybe that's what happened with Dooku, is that he got a different saber, which was the crystal from something else, and that's why it goes red. So because I would kind of believe that his saber would stay the same color.
Okay,
possibly.
Yeah, I mean,
just like Vader's did when he was using it.
Yeah, and I like the idea of like how Jedis have to construct their lightsabers so do Sith, but they have to do it a different way. It's like, here's your lightsaber. You're not that next step in your Sith, path. You have to go until you bend this to your will. Yeah,
and maybe it is part of you have to go take a saber or a crystal from a Jedi. I don't know. Again, Maul, he had two double bladed, so he had two crystals as well. So I don't know. But anyway, what was the best part about this book definitely was, again, spoilers, how Ahsoka got her sabers.
Yeah.
Which she is basically, once she knows she has to really step in and take control of the situation as a Jedi, she's obviously missing her saber, so she takes a trip to Ilum, right? But there's no crystals there.
Yeah,
and at least there's none calling to her anymore.
Yeah, well, it's the Empire's there, and they're farming,
that's right. They're farming,
they're mining the.
But then she does hear the vibrations, and it takes her back to Raieta, and they're stronger and stronger. And then when she's confronted by the Inquisitor, it's like, oh, those are the crystals.
Yeah.
They're now calling, in a sense, to her, even though they belong to somebody else. But again, maybe I guess they lose that essence, that disconnect whenever the the person dies.
Yeah.
So anyway, it's really neat the part where they're saying where she uses the Force to basically explode.
I need
the saber because it basically kills him.
Yeah.
It kills the Inquisitor, like burns his face off or something like that. It says in there, and she then digs through the rubble and finds the crystals. She had already built new hilts, puts them in, and then the first time she ignites them, they're white. Now so the explanation basically that I'm getting out of it is that, and I didn't think about what you said. So there's actually possibly two explanations. One is that it's white because they weren't originally her crystals, or it's white because, like you just said before, was that they bled out so much that they lost their hue, right?
Yeah.
And then now they are white, which is a pretty good theory. So I think either or. I don't know what the answer is, but either or, they're either white because they're not hers, or they're white because they bled out.
I'm trying to thumb through here, see if it reads. But yeah, it didn't really explain that part too well.
It didn't.
But still, I mean, it's still cool.
Yeah, and I think it's coming. I think
Yeah.
if we get another, like if we get another Ultimate Star Wars update with Ahsoka in there, and I don't know, it'll probably explain a little bit more about the sabers. But
I mean, it says here. I mean, it references that these lightsabers are in fact hers, and that she turned them on, they show in the brightest white.
yeah,
It's crazy.
and I remember not a long time ago, but I remember when season 2 came out and Filoni was talking about it, and I don't know if the explanation was already. I'm assuming the explanation was thought of already, but I remember him saying something like, "Well, she's not a Jedi, she's not a Sith, so she's a neutral, so that's why they're
Yeah,
white."
I mean
But-
that's
which makes sense too.
could be true. Yeah,
But I think they've tried to really explain it in a Force sensitive way that
relationship. Relational kind of
which
way.
is pretty neat. But I just think there's some questions that need answered
Yeah,
about that.
absolutely.
But it definitely brought that situation up in this book. So I don't know. Overall, but very good. I mean, I liked it a lot.
Yes, and it made me fall in love. Remember why I love reading Star Wars books so much, and why I missed it, because in the movies you get that very awesome mystical side of the Force in the films, and the cartoons and all that stuff. But the books do a fantastic job of explaining really how the Jedi uses the Force and what they sense while using the Force. Like it is, as you were reading the description of Kyber crystals there, that it really is an extension of the Jedi and how they can sense. They sense so far beyond themselves. Like Ahsoka here is talking about how she can sense the Jedi and how she can now no longer sense the Jedi after the Purge because they're all dead.
Yeah.
Like anytime she can go out there and she can feel Anakin Skywalker. Right now she can't. But it talks here how she's like meditating, how she can sense the entire planet that she's on, the creatures, and she's connected to everything on the planet through the Force. And I love reading those moments in any Star Wars book. 'Cause it makes me fall in love with the world of Star Wars again. Makes me fall in love with the Force and just the mystical side of it all it's brilliant. It's awesome. It's incredibly well written, and I think E.K. Johnston, she did a great job writing this, and made me excited to read more Star Wars books because
But why?
how it's written.
But why couldn't she sense Yoda?
I think they're cloaking themselves.
Oh, you think so?
Obi-Wan can't really sense much either, I think, as they're even describing here. Like he really can't sense much. I think, first of all, I think the dark side's
The dark side's clouding.
it's still clouding everything.
Yeah.
But I think Yoda particularly, Yoda is cloaking himself by the dark side cave. I think
Very
that's one of the reasons
true.
why he went there.
Yeah.
So you can't sense Yoda. But I think Yoda can sense everything, though. I think he knows what's going on because he communicated to them in Rebels. But Obi-Wan, I don't think can sense it right now. I think he's kind of right now on Tatooine. I think he's kind of shut off.
Does
from it.
Kanan think or know that Obi-Wan's alive?
No, I don't think he's aware.
Because he got the order from the holocron.
It's yeah, and so did Ahsoka.
So,
But Ahsoka doesn't know. I think they just.
But
assume.
Ahsoka hasn't seen. Did she
It
see
talks
that?
about here. I think her getting the warning not to come back.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's right. But she doesn't think he survived. Obviously,
Correct. Yeah, because she can't feel him.
Wow.
I think they're just cut
crazy.
off. I think the light side is such a disconnected right now that they just can't feel him. But
Yeah.
also because the presence is so weak, they can't feel him.
Well, that's what even Mace said it, right? Episode 3 is like, I think we need this.
Our powers diminished.
Our powers is diminished. I mean, and again, that goes back to what I remember what Filoni said to Kevin Smith on that show about how if you watch the prequels as an example, not example of the story of the failure of the Jedi, you know, and the loss of their power, it's like, yeah, man, they just lost it, you know, they lost it all. And they never have yet really regained it. You know, even 30 years after episode 6, right? It's still bad. So anyway, great book. I'm going to dive into another one. Casey's going to finish what he's doing.
Yeah.
But all right, so that'll do it for this episode. I do want to mention our poll that we put out on Twitter. Hopefully you saw that. I don't know if everybody did or not, but we're going to start a little Twitter thing, a little Twitter Monday right now. We're going to start doing a lot more kind of theme stuff, but anyway. But the first thing I wanted to do was start run a poll on Twitter every Monday, and you can we're going to hashtag it ITF Star Wars poll, right? Or ITF poll?
ITF poll.
ITF poll. So, which is Inside the Force. But this one was, I thought, an interesting question that we had talked about off mic or whatever. But it was simply this: we wanted to know: is it possible that Star Wars Rogue One could become your favorite Star Wars movie? Now, the options were, there's 4 options. Absolutely, it could.
Yeah.
You need to see it first in order to determine if it could. Probably not. No way, couldn't.
Yeah, probably not. Yeah.
Or never, because Empire rules. Yeah. Now, before the poll was up, which one did you think?
I was like, yeah, absolutely, it could. Yeah, I think based off what I've seen, it very well could.
No, wait. So you're talking about what you would have picked?
Me. Yeah.
Okay. What I'm saying is what you thought was going to be
I
the
thought
most popular.
I thought Empire.
Me too.
Yeah. Sorry.
I thought never. I thought people.
Yeah.
People were like, "No way. What are you talking about?" I would have said. I think I would have said absolutely as well, and only because of the trailers that we've seen. I think they've captured the essence and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And I think it's going to be a good movie. But anyway, so we got, looks like we have 58 total votes on this thing. And the one that won was Need to See It First. With 36%.
Hopeful.
And the least was Never.
Which we were trying to keep tabs on it throughout, and like for a little while, like Never
was leading. Yeah.
Yeah.
So thanks everybody for participating. We're going to keep doing that. So
that's fun.
We'll come up with a new one on Monday here and put it out there and talk about it. So if you got suggestions on those, let us know. We're at Inside the Force. Tweet us there. And of course, we posted the other day. It looks like it was 2 days ago. Well, it's midnight now. That's why it's 2 days ago.
Several days.
The 19th was 58 days till Rogue One. So we're gonna be putting out random ones. I don't want to do it. I may do it like a 20-day countdown or something like that. But anyway, of course, today is if you haven't seen it, Sam Witwer's birthday. So
happy birthday, man!
I know you're listening, Sam Witwer. Happy birthday, brother! Thanks for listening, guys. We're at Inside the Force, of course, on Twitter and Facebook, and InsideTheForce.com for subscribe to the show, and obviously listen to all the episodes right there and there. Thanks for checking us out. And I don't think you got a quote, or you
Yeah,
doing okay?
I'll do a quote.
For Casey Cooley.
Obi-Wan Kenobi. Obi-Wan. Now that's a name I haven't heard in a long time. A long time. Yeah. I was thinking about going. Okay, honorable mention because there's a heavy Obi-Wan episode. I feel like. I was gonna go with Dreams Pass in Time. I was gonna go with that one.
I love that
It's
one.
such a short one, but
I love that line.
Obi-Wan Kenobi. Obi-Wan.
That was delivered so well. I felt like
was.
in that movie.
Dreams Pass in Time.
Yep.
Good stuff.
All right, guys. Thanks. Until next week. Keep just inhaling everything Star Wars.
Snoring.
All kinds of stuff out there, man. And go check out Ahsoka. It's on your bookshelves in your local bookstores, and of course, it's online if you want to do the audiobook or Kindle, whatever you want to do. All right, we'll see you guys next week. He's Casey.
Goodbye, everybody.
I'm Dave, and of course, may the Force be with you.
This has been a production of the 21 Network. For more great podcasts, visit 21network.com. To view additional content, subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/21network. Follow us on Twitter at 21network for the latest news and updates. The 21 Network, for the fan and all of us.